Hello, my lovely people. Welcome back to my channel where I talk all about how your mind works, why you have fears, why you have emotional, physical pain, right? And today the topic is, I'm just gonna put some lip balm on my lips, good. Today we're talking about this phrase that we always tell to ourselves, or we tell it to our kids even, right? Or we think about other people like that. And it's completely normal, right? Why it happens, I'm going to explain. There is something wrong with me, right? So we're talking about 5 reasons why you think there is something wrong with you. Or if we look at our child who doesn't behave the way we want, right? We say, well, what's wrong with you? When we talk about our coworker that kind of behaves weird, we say, what's wrong with him or with her? When we have a conflict, right? An argument, right? In our mind, we have this thought, what is wrong with them? Or what is wrong with me? So let's start. The first reason why you think there is something wrong with you is because you don't know where your symptoms are coming from. You don't know the reason for them. You don't know how they originated. Because you don't know why they originated, and it's okay if you don't know. No one teaches that at school. No one teaches that at college. Our parents don't teach us, right? They don't tell us about the mind-body connection. That's why when we have something that we feel like, oh, something that is bothering us or holds us back, any like procrastination, depression, anxiety, panic, right? Seizures, any physical illnesses, right? We feel like something is wrong with us because we don't know. And people love stories. People love stories. They need the explanation. And because they don't have that explanation or they cannot find it, they either believe whatever is available. They either believe what their doctors say or their friends say, right? Which is okay because that might be true, who knows? But they also need to explain everything. If they cannot explain, and it's kind of confusing, their symptom or their behavior, they start to think there is something wrong with me because everyone else seems to be fine, right? So the more conscious you become, the more you learn about your mind, the more you will understand that there is nothing wrong with you. There is everything right about you. It's because you don't know how to use the tools, what tools to use, what resources to use, right, in order to help yourself. Reason number 2, right? You only see what people show you. People are amazing. People are experts at hiding their lives, at hiding their problems behind the closed doors, in their wardrobes, in their closets, whatever it is, they hide it. They only show you this beautiful picture, you know? Like when I look at the Instagram, you feel like everyone is making 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month, right? Or everyone is like super happy, right? When in reality, everyone has something. Everyone is struggling with some kind of issue. It's their own path. But it's kind of, they don't want to show that. So they hide it. Because they hide it, you look at that picture and you create the belief that that's how it's supposed to be. You go to work, you see your coworkers talking about their personal life and you think that that's how it's supposed to be. You form beliefs or confirm beliefs every single day, many times a day, right? So that's why if you see someone is like, perfect to your opinion, you feel that there must be something wrong with me. Reason number 3, you were conditioned to believe that there is something wrong with you. You were conditioned since early childhood. I remember, and this is my personal experience, I remember when my daughter would scream, she would be hysterical, she would be like, either she would laugh too much or she would cry too much, right? But I was very young. I had my daughter when I was 23. I didn't know anything about parenting. I didn't know. I just was probably just floating by instincts, by my ego, and whatever I knew was right. Because of that, if she cried too much, if she would, put any tantrum in the store or outside, I would think there is something wrong with her. That every other kid, like every kid that don't do that. Other kids don't do that, just my kid. So I would voice that. I was like, what's wrong with you? How many times you have heard that from your parents? Stop acting like that. What's wrong with you? There is definitely something wrong with you. So when we hear that from our parents, right, even though they might not say that, they can give you, they can feel it, and you feel what they feel. We feel what our parents feel. So when you say that to your kid, when we hear that from our parents, we start to believe that. If we hear that many, many times, you start to believe exactly that. Right? So this is the reason why you think there is something wrong with you, because you're conditioned to believe like that. This is the belief that you felt. Your mom would say that there is something wrong with you. Your caregivers will say there is something wrong with you. So you start to believe that as well, right? So there is a condition. Reason number 4, you compare yourself unconsciously all the time. When people say, I don't compare myself to anyone, I either want to, bow my head in front of them, because this is like the highest level of consciousness. When you stop comparing yourself to anyone and you start living your life, I am still not there. Sometimes I look at other spiritual healers and I was like, oh, that's so great. Like, I should try that. I should try that tool, that resource. I do compare. And there is sometimes a feeling here that like, oh, I'm probably not good enough, right? Though I'm working on that and I've made such a huge progress, it's still a learning progress, right? So, people compare themselves all the time. Where this comparison comes from? Many times very early. When you had your siblings, either they were older or younger, if your parents compared you, even if they didn't tell you that, but maybe you heard the conversation that, oh, Jackie does this, but John doesn't do this, right? You start to compare yourself. And first it becomes very emotional, right? When you're a child, you start to form these beliefs that, oh, I'm not that good, maybe I should be better. But when we go to school, that comparison just intensifies. It amplifies, right? Teachers, we are in a community, in an environment of 30 other kids, 20, depending on the school, right? We are in that environment, and everyone has grades and everyone behaves and acts differently, right? So you start to compare yourself, or not only start, you keep going on the comparison road, right? So you compare yourself. Because you compare yourself, you always will find someone who is better. You always will find someone who is better than you. So that will form the belief there is something wrong with me. Why they can do that and I cannot. Why they can be that person and I cannot be that person, right? So you start to question, you start to compare, you start to think there is something wrong with you. And the reason number 5, and this is the one that is very sensitive, right? When people have some emotional struggles or physical symptoms, right? It's inappropriate in many communities to talk about that, right? In many communities, it is not appropriate, so we hide it, right? People hide it, right? We don't discuss it. It's always behind closed doors, right? The more we hide it, the less we can express ourselves, right? In the community, the more we think there is something wrong, because we repress that, right? We repressed our emotional pain, right? And though, for example, therapy is so popular, right, in the Western world, and I live in Canada, right? So it's very popular, right? Not everyone has an access to it. And because they don't have an access to it, they cannot really express what hurts them, right? They cannot express their emotional pain. And sometimes, a lot of times, and I'm going to talk about that in another video, we become addicted to therapy. We become addicted to therapy. I'm going to talk about the signs why we become addicted to therapy, right? But still, it doesn't resolve the issue. So we feel like if we're going for years to the therapy, right? Or to see the counselor and nothing really changes that much, we feel there is something wrong with us, right? It should help, but it doesn't. So these are 5 reasons why you think there is something wrong with you. However, in reality, it's just because the lack of knowledge, the lack of control over your mind, not the lack of control, the control that maybe you think about, but the lack of control over your mind and thoughts, right? Another one is the lack of knowledge, lack of information. Once you gain that information, and today in this video, I actually talked about the things that you need to know. Please watch my other videos, subscribe, because I'm going to talk a lot about your mind-body connection in a very simplified way so you can understand and you can resonate. I love you all. Be healthy physically and mentally, and I'll see you in the next video.